Bonds hits one high. Hits it deep. It is out of here. 7:56. Bonds stands alone.
Now Booker with Tucker on him. Throws it up for 8. Shot blocked by Antetokounmpo. What a block from Giannis.
17 seconds from Game 7 or from championship number 6. Jordan, open. Chicago with the lead.
Minute remaining. And they're putting Curry in the pick and roll, trying to get him on Irving. Irving and Curry, one-on-one. Irving puts it up. It's good. Kyrie Irving from downtown.
We're sending it in, Jerome. That's for damn sure.
Yes. What is up, everybody? Welcome to Tap Room Sports Podcast. I am your host, Jordan. Stacks on stacks on stacks, lads. Joined with my guy. Once again, thank you for joining me, Aaron. Aaron Kidd, you can follow him on Twitter at AaronKidd10. My guy has been extremely hot in this during March. I shouldn't even just say March Madness because we're going all the way back to the conference tourney. We're talking NIT, CBI. My guy's been hitting it all. Thank you for joining me, Aaron. How you doing tonight?
Jordan, thanks for having me tonight again, man. It's a pleasure to be here. Feeling great, man. Cashed on UAB +1 earlier. They kind of came out in the second half. Job done for, so it's a good night.
Hell yeah, man. I was on UAB as well. Also on Utah Valley, which was a good day too. So they just cashed right now. Condolences to anyone that took the over though, since he just wasn't able to score there for like 10 minutes in that game in the second half. But man, what a first round. What a first couple rounds in the NCAA tournament. I know you and the Wager Talk crew hit on that FDU live +900. That was a hell of a hit, 9-1. It was probably an awesome weekend for you. Let's go through some of the first round games. What was your biggest surprise aside from Virginia? Let's not get back into the Virginia yet. We'll talk about it soon. But what was outside of Virginia? What was your biggest surprise?
Well, in the first round, one of the biggest surprises I think I saw was, everybody always wants the 12 seed to beat the 5 seed. That's become the norm. And I actually went with Miami. Drake was kind of that, public dog, if you will. Everybody was on them. And, of course, Miami goes on a 16-1 run there at the end to seal that. I think Miami's guards finally got the best of them. They kind of started pressing there in the last 5 minutes. Drake fell apart. But that was kind of my biggest surprise is, no 12 seeds beating the 5. But I kind of went against the grain there and had Miami. So it's a nice little cash.
Yeah, I agree. We were both on Miami in that game, and we were kind of both had the same reasonings as well. So that was one that I hit. San Diego State also carried me through the weekend. First half unders, obviously, there's a huge trend with first half unders in the NCAA tournament. They've been hitting almost 60% since 2010. Wasn't so good this year in the first round, especially the second day. The second day started 0-6 on the day. So that was a little rough, especially for me because I bet every single first half under. So got off to a rough start on Friday. But, yeah, man, Creighton was really good over the weekend. They covered both their games. FAU, obviously, they beat Memphis, which we both had as well. FAU beating Memphis. And then they struggled against FDU, though, which kind of surprised me, dude. I thought they were going to blow them out. And it looked like they were going to at the end of the first half, and then FDU kind of came and weathered the storm in the second half. Man, it was a wild weekend. I was honestly surprised. I thought Montana State was going to beat Kansas State. If you look at the shot quality of that game too, Montana State should have won that game. Montana State was atrocious from the free throw line. The 77% free throw shooting team, they shot under 50% from the free throw line. They also missed a lot of wide open looks in that game. Which cost them that game, so that kind of surprised me. And then when Michigan State beat USC, And I mean, they just took Boogie Ellis out of that game. And then they played Marquette. I didn't bet that game, but I was very worried for Marquette because I was like, you know what, like this is a dangerous team for Marquette because Marquette does not defend the three well, and Michigan State shoots almost 40% from three. And sure enough, Michigan State caps off the W. They move on to New York. Um, Man, what a wild first day. St. Mary's, obviously a team I was very high on. You know, Dukas gets hurt, and Saxon gets in foul trouble. And I was on a live stream the night before, Aaron, and I said the only way St. Mary's gonna win this game, Saxon cannot get in foul trouble, and Dukas has to be good. And Dukas was great, and then he got hurt, and then the whole game changed after that. It was just because St. Mary's, they only play 7 guys, so when Dukas went out, it was tough for them, man.
Yeah, they handled VCU's press really well in that first game. I know the score really didn't dictate it, but I thought they kind of controlled that game.
Mm-hmm.
Going back to what you said about Marquette, I was actually on Marquette, so in that against Michigan State, I thought the pressure may speed them up a little bit, and boy was I wrong. But everybody talks about the three, and they didn't defend it very well. Michigan State only shoots 2 of 16 in that game. So that kind of leads me into how I feel about the next game. You got to feel like there'd be some positive progression there for Michigan State against Kansas State coming up. But I was very surprised to see Marquette not make it to the Sweet 16. So
yeah, someone that had them in the Final Four and with a future on them, I was pretty upset. But I like I said, when I saw Marquette was gonna face Michigan State, I was like, dude, that's a terrible matchup for them, dude. Like, not good. And I thought USC was gonna beat Michigan State, and like I'm a USC guy, and I knew Marquette would wipe USC off the floor if they played them. Just so happened to be a little bit of trouble, but yeah, I mean a lot of bad beats too, or good covers if you depending on what side you're on. Obviously that Zaga minus 4.5.
Corpus Christi against Alabama, the kind of miracle 3 when their coach is like waving them off, he just yaks one. So
bro, there's a lot of it over the weekend, man. Like if you were on the wrong side of some of these, I feel awful. Like even like I was on San Diego State against Charleston, and Charleston fouled San Diego State with like 0.7 seconds left, right?
Yep.
And
he goes and sticks both of them.
And they cover it. And then same thing happens with TCU and Zaga. TCU fouls 0.7 seconds, exact same amount of time on the clock. Zaga knocks him down, and then TCU bounces the ball in, and nobody decides to touch it until it gets to the 3-point line, and dude just picks it up and throws it in the bucket, and they cover. I mean, that was insane, dude. I could not believe it.
Kind of a roller coaster of emotions there on that one.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot of roller coasters of emotion, but we're gonna break down the Sweet 16 and kind of look ahead to the rest of the tournament, and then hopefully we can get on next week if you're down, and we can talk about the Final Four and the national championship as well. Irvin will be joining us shortly. He's stuck in Los Angeles traffic, which anyone that's been to LA knows that could be as long as who knows. Especially with the weather they're having right now. They had a tornado in LA today, by the way, which is very not normal. But let's start with Thursday's games, Aaron, and then we'll go to Friday's games. So rather than break it down by South, East, West, Midwest, West, we'll break it down by day. So we'll start with FAU Tennessee, who tips off tomorrow 6 p.m. Western time. These games really tip. Okay, so 3:30 p.m. We'll start with Michigan State. They kick off the day 3:30 p.m. Pacific, 6:30 Eastern time. This is in Madison Square Garden. We got Michigan State, Kansas State. Currently, Michigan State is anywhere between -1.5 and 2, depending on where you get out. I'm seeing mostly 1.5s now. It did go to 2 at one point though. We're seeing some buyback on Kansas State now. This did open Kansas State -1 though, so we did see a complete flip of the favorite. And then the total's at 138 right now. What do you think about these two teams right here?
Well, kind of what we talked about earlier. I guess we get so tired of trying to fade Tom Izzo in March. But Michigan State's a solid 17-16 against the spread overall this year. 11-9 as a favorite, 5-3 on a neutral. Kansas State actually surprised me and is a Big 12 best 23-11 against the spread, but they kind of fall short there as a dog, only 7-8 as a dog, 5-1 on a neutral. As I said earlier, Michigan State shot 2 of 16 from three and made over double the foul shots against Marquette. They kind of got out the gate strong against Marquette and never looked back. Marquette kind of flirted around back there in the second half, but they kind of put them away. So you'd expect to see some positive shooting regression for Michigan State. But it would be hard for me to imagine that they double Kansas State up at the line as they did to Marquette. Kansas State gets the free throw line at a very high rate. Kansas State's also very efficient on the defensive side of the ball. I had them at 29th overall defensive efficiency on Evan Maya. Michigan State, gosh, like I said, Tom Izzo, I'm sure they've had some time to game plan for the way Kansas State attacks, but this was actually a no play for me here. But I do lean Kansas State in a very tough matchup. I think it's a coin flip.
Kansas State actually fouls a lot, though. They are 59th in the country in opponent free throw percentage, so they do foul quite often. They don't defend without fouling. They are good against a three, only 29% against a three. Obviously, Michigan State 6th in the country in shooting the three. They don't shoot around the rim very well. But ultimately, I just think this game comes down to experience, dude. And I'm going to take Tom Izzo all day over Jerome Tang. You know what I mean? Like, Jerome Tang, yeah, he has a ring, but he was an assistant coach for Baylor. Tom Izzo's been here. He's done it. I don't love this game. I'm with you. Like, I don't have any dog in this fight. I don't have any play. If anything, I would probably take the over just because both these teams foul a lot. Well, Michigan State doesn't foul a ton, but like you said, Kansas State gets to the line a lot.
Kansas State gets it.
And Michigan and Kansas State fouls a lot. So I could see a lot of free throws being shot in this game, especially towards the end, especially if it's a close game. So I kind of lean the over 138. That's the only play I would have on this game. I'm not taking a side because I think Kansas State's a better team, but I think Michigan State's a better coach team.
And I'm sure that's baked into the number a little bit, the coaching edge, and Tom Izzo's always gonna get the leg up there. Kansas State, though, they just kind of seem like they're on a mission right now. But like I said, no play from here either, Jordan. So I'm with you.
All right. Let's move on to the next game. We have what's the next game on this docket? We got
Arkansas and UConn.
UConn -4. The total's at 140 and a half. I'm seeing at some spots, 140 mostly. What's your thoughts on this game here? I know you have a UConn future.
Well, yeah. Actually, we have a UConn ticket. February. So that's looking real pretty right now. I think I saw him on one of the more well-known books earlier at 9-1. So definitely happy to have the 30-1 here. Look, Arkansas is 18-16-1 against the spread, only 5-6 overall against the number as a dog. They are a very strong 7-2 on a neutral, which I thought was very interesting. UConn 23-11-1 against the spread overall. 21 of those came as a favorite. 6-1 on a neutral too. Look, we all know Musselman. He's an animated nut job on the sideline, but my goodness, it's hard not to root for him.
Yeah.
He's got his shirt off on the sidelines after the game, but they kind of gutted out a tough win there. Half of their team was in foul trouble down the stretch, so they really pulled a gutsy win out. But I do believe it would take a top shooting effort from Arkansas to stay in this one. It's kind of well known Arkansas can struggle to score the ball once in a while.
Yep. And
after such an emotional comeback win, I just think it's a bad spot for them. It's no secret that Arkansas is a different team with, when Nick Smith is healthy and Council and Davis are there and kind of helping attack the rim. And that's kind of what they did in the second half against Kansas. They just started attacking. They kind of bought the fight to Kansas instead of letting Kansas bring it to them. But I'm going to stay with what I believe. I still think UConn's one of the best teams in the tournament, if not the best team. Those bigs can rebound the ball very well. And they're one of the best, in the country on offensive rebound side. So, they should be able to get some offensive rebounds, get some easy putbacks there. Kind of everyone hopped off the train of UConn. So I feel like December, January, everyone was on UConn. They're like, oh my gosh, this is UConn. They're back, and then they lose 6 of 8 and everybody just falls off the wagon there, if you will. But, they kind of dismantled St. Mary's in the second half. And I feel like you saw a good team come out in St. Mary's. So I'm giving it out here first on Taproom Sports. I will tweet it after the show, but I'm on UConn minus the 4. So.
Whew. This is a tough one because, like, if we were to talk about this game in November, right, and we're like, all right, what's the line like on Arkansas, Connecticut in a neutral? Probably Arkansas would be the favorite. Obviously they lose Trevon Brazil, but I mean in November they also didn't have Nick Smith. I think Nick Smith's a huge question mark for this team though, because when he's playing well, this team's tough to beat. And they beat Kansas and he was not good at all, which was shocking to me. I couldn't believe they beat Kansas and he wasn't good. I do think that Adama Sanogo and Donovan Clingan, they're going to be an issue for Arkansas. We saw against St. Mary's. St. Mary's just like they didn't have the depth and size like after Saxon to contend with Adama Sanogo. I do think the difference between Arkansas and St. Mary's though is I think Arkansas's perimeter defense, especially with like a guy like Jordan Walsh, he's going to absolutely take Jordan Hawkins out of this game. And we've seen Jordan Hawkins both games for UConn, he's been non-existent in the first half, and he's started to get going in the second half. I'm telling you right now, Jordan Walsh, he's taking Jordan Hawkins out of this game. I wouldn't even be shocked if Jordan Hawkins scores less than 5 points in this game. And I think that Arkansas's on-ball pressure with their wings and their guards is going to make it difficult for UConn to get Sanogo the ball in the post, and they're going to have to rely on offensive rebounding. That's how they're going to win this game. And like you said, they are the second best offensive rebounding team in the country. So that is a concern of mine. However, I like Arkansas plus the points here. I think UConn wins the game, but I think Arkansas covers it in a close one. I just think defensively on the their perimeter defense is just too solid. Arkansas definitely does struggle to score, but I do think that UConn not having a point guard this is the kind of game where it's going to catch up to them, because it did hurt them in that St. Mary's game. Like I said, once Alex Dukas went out in that St. Mary's game, it was over. Like they didn't have enough depth at all, and then Saxon got in foul trouble. I mean, they were just screwed. And then Aiden Mahaney, he was a freshman, and he looked the part, dude. You know what I mean? And he's not like a high level 5-star freshman like Anthony Black and Nick Smith. Like these are guys that are going to be lottery picks, right? Aiden Mahaney is going to be back at St. Mary's next year. I just think Arkansas has a lot of talent, man. They're one of 4 teams left in this tournament who are top 50 in offensive efficiency and defensive efficiency. So I like Arkansas to cover the number, but I do think that UConn does ultimately win. I think offensive rebounding is going to hurt them in the long run. And I lean the under for what it's worth.
Yeah, UConn's one of those other 4 teams, Jordan.
They are. It's UConn, Arkansas, Alabama, and UCLA. Those are and Houston. So 5 teams. 5 teams. Houston's the other one. The East has 0 teams top 50 in offense and defensive efficiency. Oh, Texas as well. So 6 teams. Texas is also top 50 on both. All right, let's move on to the next game. We got FAU and Tennessee. This one is also in Madison Square Garden. Or no, it is in Madison Square Garden. This line is at 5.5 right now. A lot of people on FAU in this one. Is FAU the trendy dog this week? I personally took FAU earlier in the week, and now I'm thinking about taking Tennessee minus 5.5.
Did you get it at 4.5 or 5 early?
I got FAU 5.5.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, because it actually went down to 4.5 there for a while. I was seeing some 4.5s on one of the more popular sports books yesterday.
Yeah. And they got bad.
Florida Atlantic, man, they've been on a tear this year, and when I was looking at really diving into Florida Atlantic, they were Conference USA best, 22-11-1 against the number this year. 4-2 as a dog. They weren't a dog much, and 3-2 on a neutral. And when you really start looking in Tennessee hasn't been exceptionally well against the number all year.
Nope.
Just 18-17 against the spread, 17-14 as a favorite, but only 4-5 on a neutral, which I thought was interesting. Well, listen, Jordan, I think the NIT and well, the CBI too, for that matter, is showing just how strong Conference USA really was this year.
Agree.
There were some dogfights in and out, every night there. Congratulations to Charlotte for winning the CBI today, and like I mentioned on the early show, we cashed the tickets on UAB this evening. So I wonder why this number's been floating around 5. And when you dive into FAU, they are actually a pretty efficient team. They battled back in the second half against FDU and showed their composure against that press. And I will say, hats off to FDU. Their press is relentless.
Yep.
But FAU's got 5 guards that all play quality minutes. As far as Tennessee goes, Tennessee asserted a dominance over a young Duke team. They kind of fell asleep there against the wheel against ULL in the first round. If I remember correctly, they were up 18. I think they only scored like 9 points in the final 12 minutes to not cover the number there.
I was on Tennessee -11. I've had a rule that I don't back Rick Barnes in March. Of course I took Tennessee -11, and they were up 18, and like you said, they didn't score. But I did take them against Duke, so it did help me out there. But I mean, Aaron, my biggest concern, dude, and like I just keep going back to this, is like, dude, Rick Barnes been coaching for 36 years, and he's only made 3 Elite Eights. Like, this is a guy that he can't win in March, dude. Like, he's had some great talent on his teams, so it's not a talent issue. And now they're missing Zakai Ziegler. At some point, not having Zakai Ziegler, their starting point guard, is going to catch up to him, right?
You would think so. We always talk about guards winning in March, right? That may not be as much true this year as it has been in years past. And we'll get to Miami and Houston in a minute. But FAU has been relentless this year. And like I said, Conference USA, man, hats off to them. I think they should have put at least UAB and maybe even North Texas had a case to be in the tournament this year. And I'm not sure they don't come in the tournament and beat somebody. I have not played anything in this game, Jordan. But gosh, the more I look at it, man, it's hard not to take the Owls here.
Yeah, no, I like I said, I took FAU +5.5. And a lot of the money and the tickets are on FAU, which does kind of concern me. But at the same time, like, I try not to let that affect me, because, like, 80% of the money was on UConn against St. Mary's, and like 79% of the tickets, and they ended up covering. So I do like FAU in this spot. Like I said, like, it's just hard to back Rick Barnes in the Sweet 16, dude. Like, he just always falls short. But it's weird because, like, this might be Rick Barnes' best opportunity, because if you look at the East bracket, like, all the good teams are gone, and he could, like, walk into the Final Four, And
I will say that we haven't touched on it, I don't think, but Tennessee does have a relentless defense, man. They kind of just play what I call bully ball against Duke. They kind of just say, we're coming for you, and you better be ready.
They also foul a lot.
They did, and I do believe that Florida Atlantic will stretch them out a little bit more.
Yep.
Which will give them a little bit more problems as far as just being able to put the ball down low and bully them. But hats off to Rick Barnes, and I've actually got them, I think, number 1 defensive adjusted efficiency in the country right now. So
yep.
It's going to be a kind of offense versus defensive thing. But when you really dive into Florida Atlantic, they're pretty efficient on the offensive side, and they got some guys that can score outside of Davis too. So I think it should be a good game.
Yeah, they just can't turn the ball over like they did against FDU. If they don't turn the ball over, they'll be okay. And Tennessee, they force a lot of turnovers. So I like FAU in this spot, though. I do agree with you. We've seen the total come down from 133. It's at like 129.5 in some spots. I think it's getting a little too low that almost you might want to buy back on the over. Plus, like, it's public knowledge about the unders now, which I think is always, some concern. Like, the first half unders, when Stanford Steve went on ESPN in front of millions of people and he's talking about first half unders, I felt like the books kind of adjusted to it. That's why we saw a lot of first half overs hit. And I think we're going to kind of see some more overs hit in this second round, because everybody's on the unders after the unders went like, what did they hit? Like 78% in the first weekend? Like, it was an unreal number.
Yeah, I think the first weekend, maybe at least until Sunday, I think they were like 75%. I'm not a big totals guy. I kind of let you guys set that pace for us. But It looks like the unders are hitting pretty strong, but at some point the books are going to adjust. So now I do believe though that when you look at over unders, kind of correlates it with the side that you like. So
I
I
agree.
think if you like over, I think that's the Florida Atlantic side. I think if you like the under, I lean Tennessee there.
Well, I'm also of the I don't know, I haven't done the math on it or looked it up, but I'm also of the belief like if you like an under, you probably want to take the dog because the more or less points that are scored, the more chance you have of a dog hitting, right? Because there's less points scored. Especially if it's a double digit dog. Obviously, FAU is not a double digit dog, but yeah, no, it's interesting. One thing I look at for totals is like pace of play, and how efficient a team is offensively and defensively. Obviously neutral site totals and etc. So I haven't really, aside from first half unders, I haven't really played many totals in this tournament. And obviously first half unders kind of kicked my ass a little bit, but it is what it is.
I just believe there's so much variance in over under, so that's the only reason I don't play it. It's nothing against them at all. I just think it's so much variance. I think it's hard enough trying to handicap a game and decide which side is the right side, more or less how many points will be scored. But hey, man, hats off to you guys.
Hey, Aaron, there's a lot of variance in college basketball in general. Just look at the TCU versus Gonzaga game, all right? You never know what's gonna happen. I've seen all right, so just for example, Hawaii, Cal State Fullerton earlier this year. I'm a big West guy. I love the Big West. Hawaii, Cal State Fullerton, the total was like 128.5. I'm sorry, not Cal State Fullerton. It was Long Beach State. Total was like 128.5. Both these teams are at like 116 with like a minute to go. The game ends at like 140. Dude, they scored like 22 points in a minute and 30 seconds.
And a lot of that comes with the foul game too. That's another reason why I believe it's so hard to handicap sides is because of the foul game. So
exactly, that's exactly why it went over, because it was like, Long Beach State was fouling, Hawaii would make 2 free throws, and Long Beach State would make a 3, and then Long Beach State would foul, and I've never seen anything like it, dude. I felt so bad for anybody that had the under in that game. But let's move on to our final game on Thursday night. We have UCLA versus Gonzaga. This is a rematch of the 2021 Final Four. It's also a rematch of the 2007 Sweet 16, where Adam Morrison cried on the floor. These two teams have
turnover there at the end. Yeah,
these two teams have history, and this is an interesting matchup because we do not know the status of David Singleton, who sprained his ankle late in the game against Northwestern. And obviously they're without Jalen Clark. Adam Bona is not 100%. Is this where UCLA's health catches up to him, Aaron?
Jordan, I'm actually, as we're speaking, I'm scrambling to see if I can get an update on that. Listen, UCLA 21-13-2 against the spread, by far the best in the Pac-12. Sure, the injuries played a part, but you got to think that's already the number there. I don't have a very strong opinion, and also I'm going to leave this one a lot, but you got to think, man, is what everyone has said about Gonzaga all year true? Are they not a greatest team this year? I let Grant Candy around in that a little bit the other day, especially during the first half. I don't know what you think.
I mean, this is like the first year in a long time where like Gonzaga doesn't have any expectations. Like nobody expects them to win, where it's like every other year they're a 1 seed coming in. Like we expect them to win the title. And then when they don't, we always look back, or not we, but the pundits, the idiots look back and they're like, well, the WCC is weak and Gonzaga's never going to win because they play in a weak conference and blah, blah, blah. And this is like the first year where it's like, man, Gonzaga, they're not good compared to what they usually are. But in reality, they are pretty good. You know what I mean? Like, they're a good team. I thought, they should have covered against TCU, if we're being completely honest. And they controlled the end of that game. Like, they were up by 7 for most of the end of the second half. Julian Strother, He's nice, man. 6'7" guard, can shoot the lights out, 42% from three, 53% from the floor. Rozier Bolton really coming around. I wonder if UCLA has the depth to go up and down the court with Gonzaga, especially without David Singleton, who's their best three-point shooter by far. Without David Singleton, this team cannot shoot the three. They are not good from the three if you take him away. So they can pack the paint. And to be honest, like, I think TCU exploited a weakness in UCLA. Northwestern. Northwestern exploited a weakness in UCLA. All they kept doing was in the second half, because remember, UCLA was up double digits against Northwestern. And all Northwestern kept doing was getting Jaime Jaquez on a switch. And the guards, Boo Booey and that other kid, they just kept attacking Jaime Jaquez. He couldn't stay in front of anybody. He's slow. So I think that's the biggest issue. And like on the defensive side, Anton Watson's going to be able to hang with Jaime Jaquez. Jaime Jaquez is not going to be able to take advantage of Anton Watson. Now for UCLA, it's going to be important for them to get Drew Timme in the pick and roll, because Drew Timme cannot guard the pick and roll. He's terrible at it. But unfortunately, I just think with the injuries, I don't think UCLA has enough depth. I took Gonzaga +2. It's moved down to 1.5. I actually like Gonzaga to win this game. If Jalen Clark and David Singleton were healthy, I would have a totally different opinion of this game. But the fact that those two are gone, I think Julian Strawther, Rozier Bolton, Hunter Salas, I think they're going to pick on Jaime Jaquez. To be honest, I would not be surprised if Gonzaga blows UCLA out. As crazy as that sounds.
So I agree with everything you said, but then when you start really diving into it, this is what my reservations are about Gonzaga. 4-11-1 against the number in non-conference games, by far the worst in the world.
But you got to remember, Gonzaga non-conference, Aaron, in the beginning of the year, they're a much better team the last month than they were the first 2 months of the season.
Sure, and I agree with that as well. But when you go look at all games, though, so let's just look at the total picture: 13-20-1 against the number. 39% against the number cover rate for the whole year. I don't know. It just scares me a little bit. Because I feel like Gonzaga always gets the edge. Always gets the edge in March. I remember the whole world was on Gonzaga a couple of years ago, and I was all over Baylor, and we know what happened in that game. So
yeah,
should be a good game, though.
I think that's the difference now, dude, is that everybody's against Gonzaga. Nobody thinks Gonzaga is that good this year. Whereas in years past, it's like, this is the year Mark Few's going to get it done. This is the year. Nobody said that all year. Nobody. This Zaga team has a much different feel than the last decade, in my opinion. And
I said it on your show earlier. Last week I said, no one has expectations for Gonzaga except for Gonzaga. So Gonzaga will always come into the tournament thinking they're going to win it all. And, I'm a strong believer in confidence will take you very far. But I don't know. Should be a good game, though.
Yeah, no, I'm excited for this game. It's actually going to be in Vegas. I'm hoping I probably won't be able to make it, but hopefully I'll be able to make the Saturday games. I really wanted to go to that game because last time Zaga was in Vegas, I went. Last time they played Duke, I was here when Chet Holmgren versus Paolo Banchero, and that was awesome. That was so awesome. No, it's gonna be a good game, man. But I like Zaga. It might be a little bit of my USC bias coming into play, but to be honest, like as a USC fan, like obviously, I've grown up hating UCLA, but it's like Irv and I were talking the other night. I was like, man, like it's weird because in hoops, like I've grown to hate Arizona more than like any other team because of Kirk Carissa. And like I could care less about UCLA because we know they're gonna be good, but I don't know, man. Like I think everybody's counting out Zaga, dude, and like I don't like it. And like I just watched Jaime Jaquez get picked apart by Northwestern, who has I'm sorry, Julian Strawther is better than anybody on Northwestern. Like Julian Strawther is going to be in the NBA. There's nobody on Northwestern who's going to be in the NBA. Julian Strawther is going to eat Jaime Jaquez alive on pick and roll, And how are they going to deal with Drew Timme on the pick and roll? I think, and they just don't have a ton of depth, dude. Like, if one of those guys gets in foul trouble, they're screwed. They're absolutely screwed. So, man, I like Zaga. I have heavy conviction. I took him pretty big, to be honest. I took a money line. So we'll see how my day goes tomorrow. All right, let's move on to Friday. We'll start with Bama and Alabama. Alabama -7.5 right now. The total open 140 has been bet down to 137.5. What's your thoughts on this game? I got a pretty strong opinion on this game. This is a game I bet too.
It's one of those things where San Diego State is certainly not going to come in here and just lay over for Alabama. What scares me about San Diego State is kind of we talked about Tennessee, kind of we talked about Arkansas. They do struggle to score at times, but they defend very well. Jordan, I think I'm gonna let you take over this one, but I have not gotten a window on this one, so I don't have very strong opinion on this. I would probably say it would be San Diego State or nothing for me. Alabama maybe isn't as efficient as all the time as we think they are, or what the metrics may say they are. I know a lot of people want to say the outside things with the shooting and all that are going to play into effect, but I'll be honest, I think we would have seen it by now if that was going to play into effect in the game. So, what do you think on this one, Jordan?
I love San Diego State. I think they actually win this game, to be honest.
Okay, you heard it here first.
Yeah. Like after Furman beat Virginia, and it was Virginia and San Diego State. I was on a live stream before Saturday, and I said, look, San Diego State's a much better version of Virginia because they can actually score. And they have way better guard play. But they play just as good defense. I mean, dude, they're fourth in the country in 3-point defense. Right? Like they don't allow they shut Furman and Charleston down from 3. Like both those teams love to shoot the 3 ball. And everyone was on Furman against San Diego State. Oh, well, San Diego State's they allow 38% from catch and shoot 3. It's like, okay, y'all take that. Like, I'll take San Diego State, dude. I'll take the athletes. I'll take the dudes that scrap and fight for everything they have. You know what I mean? And, like, I love that style of basketball. Very similar to Houston. Like, these dudes, they just scrap and they fight. They will not make your job easy. They shut down Utah State, number 1 in the country in 3-point efficiency. Shut them down from 3, right? College of Charleston, 47% of their points come from the 3-pointer. Shut them down from 3. Controlled that entire game. I don't even care that they barely covered the spread. They controlled that entire game. Furman, same thing. Absolutely shut them down. They controlled that entire game. And the thing with Bama,
their only loss. Oh, excuse me, Jordan.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, just to your point, this is just mind-boggling when you really start diving into San Diego State. Their only loss since January has been the game when Max Rice just had a legacy last 4 minutes of the game. They have been on a tear. I mean, they beat New Mexico. They beat Utah State, as you said. They blew Boise State out of the water earlier in the season.
Yep.
They come back down, kind of run through. They come from behind there against Utah State there in the Mountain West tournament. As you said, they covered against Charleston. Really just kicked Furman in the what.
Yep.
And I like I said earlier, I think it's San Diego State or nothing for me here. So I think you're on the right side. Something else about San Diego State that they're very efficient attacking the rim. Everyone always talk about their offense, but they are very efficient attacking the rim.
Mm-hmm.
I think in March we talked about so much. I kind of talked about it with Tennessee and Duke. It felt like Tennessee brought the game to them. They didn't let Duke bring the game to them. I think if San Diego State can come in here and take the game to Alabama, it might be a long night for Alabama too.
And one thing that's very important to point out is that, Aguka Rupp, who didn't play a ton during the regular season, he's been huge in the last 3 games, going back to the Mountain West Conference title game. And I don't think Alabama's going to get easy points. And Alabama, Aaron, 36% of their points come from 3-pointer. 47% of their attempts come from the 3. And San Diego State's not going to allow them to get easy 3-point looks. Like, if they knock down contested shots, they knock down contested shots, and you tip your hat. Congratulations, you beat us in a tough game. But this is not going to be easy. And aside from Brandon Miller, great player. He's going to be a top 2 pick, maybe top 3 pick in the NBA draft. But still, I mean, like, Jaden Leday is a great defender. Keshad Johnson, great defender. Micah Parrish, great defender. Mensah, great defender. Like, they're gonna throw long, athletic dudes at him. Like, they don't. It's not like they're throwing garbage guys at him. Like, San Diego State is very athletic and they're very long. Like, this is not your normal mid-major type team. This is like a high-level Power 5 program, if we're being completely honest. So I think, at the end of the day, I honestly think San Diego State's going to win this game. I really do.
Well, we talked earlier, and I was with a very good group of friends, as we mentioned at the beginning of the show this past weekend, and we kind of talked a couple different times about how Alabama, they're not necessarily always that great on offense, just their athleticism just gets to the rim and attacks the rim there. But San Diego State can do the same thing, but also San Diego State can slow them down. Something Alabama does very well. They rebound the ball offensively incredibly well. Well, something San Diego State does very well is they rebound the ball on the defensive side well. So I think a lot of those easy little putbacks and, easy little where they just get the ball and go right back up and get some trash, easy buckets kind of eliminates that, man. So I think if you can make it a low scoring game, we always talk about how things correlate. I think if you like the under, I think you would go San Diego State here as well.
Yeah, we've seen the total come down 3 points.
It's a lot. Now I do expect, like you said, a little buyback, to that, just as any number. But man, I think San Diego State might give them a game as well. So I think you're on the right side.
I love it, baby. I went to San Jose State, so I love the Mountain West. Very disappointed in the Mountain West showing this year. But it's like I told a lot of people all year, I was like, bro, San Diego State they're just different. Like, they're not a Mountain West team. Like, they could play with any Power 5 team. You know what I mean? They showed it in the Maui Invitational, right? Like, they hung with all those teams. Arkansas, Creighton, they hung with all of them. You know what I mean? Like, Arizona. This is a great, great basketball team. And they fight, man, and they scrap, and they are not going to get pushed around, dude. And they don't care that Alabama's the number 1 team in the country. You know what I mean? Like, that's just more motivation for them. And I think Brian Dutcher, I think he got the monkey off his back by getting that tournament win against Charleston. And, like, you just saw how much more free they played against Furman. You know what I mean? Like, they just went out there and they were like, yo, we're the better team. You know what I mean? Like, we're going to exert our strength and athleticism, and we're just going to beat the snot out of these guys, and they did it. And that's kind of what they did during Mountain West play all year, too. It's like, we're the better team, we're going to do this. Except for that Boise State home game. Playing in Boise is hard, though. I will give them that. But, yeah, I like San Diego State here. I already played it. It is going to be my best bet of the first round. And I do think I would sprinkle a little on the money line. I do think they have a great chance of being a live dog here and winning this game. And they'll probably get blown out. And then you can all tweet at me and tell me how stupid I am. I'm okay with that. Yeah, Shot Quality does love San Diego State, Aaron. All right, let's move on to...
They've got the line at like 2.5, just for what it's worth.
Yeah, I mean, I think Bart Torvik has it at like 3 as well. Like, they have it pretty low. I know Ken Palm, they have Alabama as their second best team, so they have Alabama winning by like, I think 6 or 4.
I think I saw 6 as well.
All right, let's move on to our next game. We're going to the Midwest bracket. We got Houston against Miami right now. Houston's laying the 7. This game's in Kansas City, by the way. So a hop, skip, and a jump away from Houston. And the total's at 138.5. What do you think about this game? Because I know you're pretty high on Miami, right? And I'm high on Houston. I got a future on Houston.
So. Miami, just because of their and just their guards. But we kind of saw what happened last year. We feel like guards win in March. Yeah, they win. They're the sole reason why they came back against Drake there. But I don't think they've seen anybody like this Houston team. Very well coached with Kelvin Sampson. Talk about teams that rebound the ball offensively. I feel like that's like one of the new narratives we look for in teams in March, because it's a very good correlation where if you rebound the ball very well offensively, you seem to win a lot of games in March.
Yep.
Houston 4th overall in the nation offensive rebounding, 37%, 37.1%. That is incredible. I think Sasser is healthy. I think that was a question coming into the tournament. Was he healthy? He sure looked healthy in the second half to me the other day.
Sure did.
We were in the book, and we were in the book at Turn and Stone, and we're all sitting there watching it. And Auburn, Houston's kind of struggled out the gate there, and they're losing by 10. I don't know if you remember. This was right before halftime.
Yep.
And about 8 of us jump up and grab the money line. They were plus 2.5 on the spread at the point, and we just mashed everything. Even some of the guys I didn't, but some of the guys even took them again in the second half. We actually had them wrapped up in a money line parlay with San Diego State too. So we cashed every ticket, every which way when Houston came alive there. And as I said, I think UConn is the best team, or one of the best teams in the tournament, but I think Houston's right there with them. So, if I was playing this game, it would definitely be Houston for me. I think it opened around -6.5. So hopefully someone got in early on it.
Yeah, I love Houston in this spot. I think this is the worst possible matchup for Miami, dude. Because the Miami is a team that very much relies on their guard play. And now they're going against a team with probably the best defensive guard play in the country. So I like Houston here -7. I would still lay the 7. I would honestly lay it up to 8. I think it's a safe bet. And, I think Calvin Sampson, like last year they lost Marcus Sasser in the tournament, right? They weren't healthy. I think now they know they're the best team in the country. I think they in Houston know that they are the best team in the country. And I think that second half last week against Auburn, I think Calvin Sampson got his guys to believe that they're the best team in the country. Because Auburn's a very scrappy team. I thought that was a bad matchup for Houston, to be honest. And Houston pulled it out. So I like Houston here. I like it a lot.
Me too.
Give me the Cougs.
Yep. I think, whether you believe in destiny or not, or fate, it doesn't matter. But doesn't it seem like Houston's on a crash course to basically play at home in the Final Four?
I said it on the show last week. Not only are they on a crash course to play at home, on a crash course to play at home in the Final Four with Houston alum Jim Nance calling their games.
Yep. Be incredible. It's what movies are made of.
Yep. All right, let's move on to our next game. I actually have pretty strong conviction about this game too. And anytime I have strong conviction, it usually ends up being the wrong play. So I'll just throw that out there right now. Creighton -10 against Princeton, and the total is at 139 right now. What do you think about this game? Does the Cinderella story come to an end?
Shout out to my buddy Adam Trigger. He has been riding Princeton and has had us all along for the ride of the first 2 games. But gosh, man, Creighton's one of those teams that I was not very high on, and I think they lost. Was it 6 straight? I can't remember.
Yeah, but that's because
and Kalkbrenner was out for some of that, but he was healthy for some of it too. So it's a little misconstrued there.
Healthy,
right? But I will say this team is a totally different team right now than what I saw, 60 days ago. At some point, you got to think the wheels fall off for Princeton. We saw it with St. Peter's last year. They kind of come in and unravel Kentucky, and then they beat Murray State pretty convincingly, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
And they kind of handed to Purdue there on a Friday night, and then the wheels fall off and they get blown out versus North Carolina. So I just think it's a bad matchup for Princeton. I really hope we were thinking the same. I have not gotten to a window on this. I do see it moving down a little bit. I've seen some 9.5s out there. But if I was playing this game, it would be Creighton or nothing for me.
Yeah, I'm with you, bro. I think Creighton blows the brakes off of Princeton. I just think Kalkbrenner's too much. Ryan Nembhard, when he's right, he's one of the best guards in the country. Baylor Shireman's playing lights out. Trey Alexander. I just think they have too much size inside for Princeton. I think it's going to give them a lot of issues. And like, yeah, you can look at Arizona and be like, yeah, well they contained Arizona. Yeah, well Arizona doesn't have the same guard play that Creighton has. You know what I mean? Like Kirk Risa sucks. He's not good. And Baylor Shireman would start on Arizona. Ryan Nemhard, Trey Alexander, and Baylor Shireman would start on Arizona. For being completely honest, so would Ryan Kalkbrenner. Probably the only guy that would start on Creighton on Arizona is Tubelis. So I like Creighton here minus the 10. I think they're gonna blow them out. We were talking about top 50 offense and defensive efficiency. Creighton is one of those teams. I had Creighton in my Final Four. I'm gonna keep riding with them. I was very high on them coming into the year. I had them power ranked number 6 at the beginning of the year. Obviously, they had those mishaps with once Kalkbrenner got mono. Kind of set them back a little bit, but they're playing some good ball right now, man. And they beat the brakes off of Mizzou. Or I'm sorry, not Mizzou. They beat the brakes off of Baylor. And
yep.
I like Creighton here, man. I think
Which was I was on Baylor in that game, and that was a totally terrible call by myself. They just didn't match up, but I thought Baylor's guards could give them some problems, man. But Kalkbrenner and that team just, man, they are playing like a different team. But I will say, hats off to you, Jordan. You were high on Creighton coming into the tournament as well.
Yep.
And seems like you're all over it. So
yeah, I love Creighton in this spot, and I'm gonna keep riding them. It's interesting. Before last year, Aaron, the previous I think it was 5 or 6 years. I can't remember how many years it was off the top of my head, but teams that won the national title covered every single game of every round that they played in, right? So when Virginia, that was 2019, right? So, right, yep. Virginia, yeah. So so last year, 2021, or 2022, who won last year? North Carolina. Kansas. Kansas covered every game.
North Carolina probably should have won the game, but they didn't show up in the second half.
Well, because Caleb Love got hurt.
That's right. Yep.
And he was balling. And then obviously Baycott was playing on a bum ankle too.
Yep.
2021, that was Baylor that won that game.
Beat Gonzaga, the game we talked about earlier.
They covered every game of the tournament. 2019, Virginia covered every game of the tournament. They played.
Was it Gardner Webb, Oklahoma, Oregon, Purdue, Auburn, and then they take care of business Texas Tech in overtime.
And the interesting part about that title game was that Texas Tech came into that game and they covered every game that they played in. So it was 2 teams that covered every game. But so that's something to look for. So what I'm getting at is that if you like a team to win the title, you might as well just take them against a spread every single game, because history shows you that whoever wins the title is going to cover every single game. And so if you're looking at that right now, Houston has not covered every single game. Alabama has not covered every single game. FAU is not covered every single game. Tennessee is not covered every single game. K-State has covered every single game. Michigan State has covered every single game. UCLA has not covered every single game. Gonzaga has not covered every single game. UConn has covered every single game. Arkansas has covered every single game. Texas has not covered every single game. Xavier has covered every single game. So if that trend holds true, and sorry, San Diego State also has covered every single game. I don't know if I said that or not. So if that
That's
trend,
good stuff there, Jordan. I actually did not know that trend. That's good stuff.
So if that trend holds true, there's a handful of teams here that you could just ride money line throughout the rest of the tournament, and they could win.
I hope that trend bodes well for my UConn ticket.
I was gonna say, I know you have UConn. I know you like UConn, so
I will be a very happy man on your show. I may just kind of run around back here somewhere behind me.
All right, let's move on to our last game of the Sweet 16. We got Xavier against Texas. Texas laying 4.5 now. Did that just move? Because I wrote it down as 4 before
I've seen some. I think it's still rogue 4s out there on.
There is 4s. I'm seeing mostly 4.5 everywhere. That's crazy. What do you think about this game? What do you think about this game, Aaron? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Oh, I think we lost him. I think we lost Aaron for a second. Can you hear me? He's there. He lost sound, he's saying. All right. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties. However, Xavier in Texas, like I just said, every team that's won the national championship in the past 5 or 6 years has covered every single round of the tournament. Xavier has covered every single round of the tournament. I think this game would be a lot different if Zach Fremantle was healthy. I think without Zach Fremantle, it makes things a lot difficult for Xavier. Obviously, last round, Xavier wasn't covering, or Xavier covered last game. It was the first round against Kennesaw State. I'm sorry. They were kind of struggling a little bit. They ended up pulling it out. I worry about Xavier a little bit in the sense that, like, without Fremantle, they just, that's a dude, best offensive player, and Sully Boom is first team all Big Ten or Big East. I'm sorry. Hold on. We got Aaron back here. Aaron, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Jordan, sorry about that.
There we go.
I'm not really sure what happened, but I apologize.
No, it's all. Hey, it happens. Technical difficulties happen. It's how we persevere, and we rode through it, and it's all good. All right. So Xavier versus Texas.
I thought I was better at lip reading, but didn't get done very well.
Sorry, my mouth doesn't open a ton. Xavier in Texas. Xavier in Texas -4. I was just talking before you came back on. I was saying, Xavier, they struggled to cover against Kennesaw State. Ended up covering against Kennesaw State. And then Texas probably should have covered against Penn State, for being honest. It took a miracle cover. But Texas really
man, that was great.
Texas really they regressed. Like, they shot lights out against Colgate, and then they kind of like massively regressed in one game shooting the ball. What's your thoughts on Texas and Xavier?
Well, Kennesaw State probably should finish that game off against Xavier. Let's be honest. We all know how good Xavier can be on the offensive side of the ball. 10th in adjusted offensive efficiency, so very strong offensive side of the ball. A couple of injuries, they've been banged up. 62nd overall, defensive efficiency. But I'll tell you what, we've rode this Texas team for a while. All pretty much throughout the conference tournament there. Kind of knew Kansas didn't care, in that conference tournament. And I just think they're the far superior team here. And I've really, really liked Texas. Without giving anything away, if I was playing this, I would be on Texas. So.
Yeah, and I'm with you. I think that's only one way to go. And I think without Zach Fremantle, I think that would change things if Xavier did have Fremantle. Without him, I just think it's going to be tough sledding, especially with the guard play of Texas. I just think defensively, it's not like anything they've really seen all year in the Big East, if we're being honest. Like, Seton Hall might be the most comparable team defensively to Texas in the Big East, but the thing with Seton Hall is, like, they can't score. You know what I mean? So it's like it's like a Seton Hall on steroids, if I will. I just think Texas is way too much, dude. I think it's gonna be a little bit of trouble for Xavier. So I'm with you, dude. I like Texas in that game.
I I will say it always makes me nervous when I don't think I've seen one person on Xavier yet in the world of handicap, and so that does make me nervous. But sometimes the right side is just the right side, and I think that might play out here with Texas.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Um, yeah, I mean, it's the same thing with UConn against St. Mary's. Like everybody was on UConn, and I was like, I felt really good about
Well,
St. Mary's.
I know Texas went through what they went through with their coach Beard, in the season there, but it kind of seems like they've kind of the pieces have fallen into place and they've kind of gelled. And I think you saw I think you saw the team grow at the conference tournament. I mean,
Yeah.
they kind of just ran through it.
Yeah.
They beat a tough TCU team there. I believe that was in the semifinals. Come back and kind of mollywop Kansas there. So I think this Texas team has a chance to get pretty far.
Yeah, until they face Houston. That's gonna be an issue. All right, so
But doesn't that feel like a fairy tale game though?
yeah, but I mean, like Houston, going to Houston, I don't know, dude.
It feels like it's meant to be.
I think Houston's guard play is just way too much for Texas at the end of the day. All right, so give me two of your best bets for the Sweet 16 so far.
I love UConn -4.
All right.
And I actually have Houston -6.5.
All right. We'll say 7 because it's at 7 right now. You can still get it at 7.
Say, yep.
All right. I'm going Aztecs +7.5. And then I'm gonna take Zaga +1.5. Going 2 West Coast teams, baby. Let's go. But I'm with you. I also love Houston. I also love Creighton. I don't know. I like pretty strong. I also like FAU +5.5. I basically like every game this week except for Kansas State and Michigan State. That's like the only game. Like I'm just like, yeah, there's just zero play for me. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. Irv didn't get to join us. He said he's like right around the corner from. He's been in traffic for 2 hours. So poor guy. Bro lives like 10 miles from his house
Jordan.
too.
I'm not sure I'll get to the window on it yet, but that number keeps going up. You might be able to.
For which one?
I'm sorry.
For which one? Which one keeps going up?
Oh, I said if you like FAU, like I said, I saw it at 4.5 yesterday on a very well known, popular book. If you can get it, I think you said you got it at 5.5. Man, that line might still go up. You might be able to get 6.5 before it's all said and done.
I'll take it at 6.5 too. I like it at 5.5 though. I'll take it at 6.5 too. All right, man. Aaron, I appreciate you for joining. We'll definitely we'll reconvene next week and preview the Final Four. Also, Aaron and I have been in discussion. We're gonna do a college basketball show next year throughout the entire season. We'll hop on like at least 2 times a week and preview and handicap and recap games as well. Because I mean, college basketball by far my favorite sport to handicap and talk about, and so I'm definitely looking forward to that next season. We're also going to have Aaron on during the college football season a few times, have him talk some college football with Irv and I. Obviously, if y'all tapped in with us last year in college football, we did very well. Obviously, that's Irvin's best sport, so it's that time of year, man. We got to, after March Madness, we'll do a little bit of MLB, then we'll start prepping for college football and NFL, and then, yeah, man, I'm excited. Glad I met Aaron, man. Aaron is a real dude. Follow him on Twitter at AaronKid10. My guy has been hot in college basketball, man. So, Aaron, I appreciate you coming on with me, and talking college hoops. Like I said, we'll be back on. I mean, I don't know if you're going to be free during the next week, but I mean, like, Irv and I just hopped on a couple nights after the games and we recapped some of the games and talked about the next day's slate. So I mean, if you are down and you're available, I know you were in Turning Stone last weekend, so it's a little difficult to do that.
Yep.
But you know, if you're free this
Yeah,
weekend,
Jordan, thanks for having me as always, man, and look forward to what's to come. And you know, I think we got some good basketball coming up tomorrow, so I'm excited.
let's go, baby. I can't wait. Make sure to go to Tavour.com or download the Tavour app straight to your mobile device. Use promo code TAPROOM for $10 off your first purchase of $25 or more. It's craft beer delivered straight to your front door. Thank you, Aaron, for joining us. I'm Jordan, Stacks on Stacks on Stacks, lads. We'll catch y'all later. Y'all have a blessed Thursday, and let's get this money.